The dwarven greed has got the better of them, and they now blame the people of Lake Town for stealing their gold. This grudge must be settled either way. Hey, how's it going? My name is Jackie Fish, and welcome back to some more Total War Rise of Mordor, the Lord of the Rings modification. Today we have a pretty goddamn exciting battle as both of these sides look to fight one another. On the left we do have the forces of the Dwarves. On the right hand side supporting them, the Easterlings have come. You know how far the Dwarves have fallen when the Easterlings have to come to their aid. Over on the other side we do have the men of Lake Town, the accused of stealing the Dwarven gold, and they're going to be supported by the men of Gondor. So it should be a very, very exciting battle. I want to give a massive shout out to the group of players who played this battle and then sent it to me. I'm always really impressed by their battles, and honestly I wish they could send me even more so I could bring you guys the epic engagements that they do go ahead and fight out. Today we do have obviously the Dwarves and the Easterlings against the men of the West, and I don't know, I feel like the Dwarves have a very solid setup in this battle, even if they're morally not right. On their front line they do have a couple of these airborne engineers. These guys fire huge bolts, and they obviously have that heavy Dwarven armor to protect themselves from incoming missiles. Behind that we do have some of the threshold troops. These are basically more of the militia-esque infantry, more of kind of like the ranger type, so they're not going to obviously do as much damage or kind of tank as much damage as the Iron Guard of the Dwarves, but they'll hold their own, and definitely, you know, any dwarf is more than a match for a man. We also have some more of these watchers back here again, more of the militia-esque infantry, nothing too crazy. However, as we go further back, we do hit the more elite dwarven infantry with these Axe Guard of Erebor. We also have some Vault Wardens back here, and they're going to be supported finally by the Spear Guard of Erebor as well, looking very clean with their shields. Then as we go over taking a look at the forces of the Easterlings, on their front line they're going to have some of these shield breakers. These guys are very effective because not only are they armored with I think an axe and a shield, they also are very deadly at range with an additional bow, which will obviously provide them with some very nice extra ammunition to weaken down the enemy front line. We also have some more of these Easterling bowmen on the front line, and then as we continue to go down the battle line, I'm sure we will find more interesting units such as these sentries right here, a pike infantry. Now their pikes aren't necessarily as long as say the Fountain Guard that we'll take a look at in a second, however they'll definitely still pack a punch. We also have some more Eastern archers back here, but the main strength of this Easterling army today is going to be these guys right here, these heavy knights, which will just decimate any other cavalry they come up against. Hopefully, I mean, the Gondorians are looking to kind of stamp out this cavalry dominance by using their own Fountain Guard to secure this flank, supported by some more spearmen. So the Penaf spearmen are going to be here, and I always love this about Rise of Mordor, how they kind of have all the other like vassals around the Gondorian players. It's not just the usual units we see like the Imperial troops. We're used to seeing all of these kind of other men who have been levied to the cause to fight in the army. Then behind that obviously we do have the Fountain Guard, the elite people who have left the Citadel to fight this battle. We also have some Gondorian cavalry back here. Very iconic and very strong. However, I don't think it will fare too great against the Easterling cavalry itself. Then finally we do have some Blackroot Vale archers, again kind of more men that have been levied to the cause, and I love this leather kind of shoulder blade part. We'll actually stick it on play whilst we wait a little bit. We also have some Ringlow Vale infantry, and then finally we do have the Gondorian sword infantry leading the back ranks. If they are needed and called upon, they will make their way into the battle. Then finally the men of Dale, on their front line they do have the Marksmen of Dale. They are obviously known for their superior archers, and these guys will hopefully prove their worth today. Behind that we do have some Lake Town Wardens. These are more of kind of like the city watch, so nothing too crazy. I'm sure they'll do okay. We also have some Vineland Watchmen. These guys are obviously levied from a different region than just Lake Town, coming to supplement the Dalian army. Then we also have some swordsmen, kind of the standardized infantry for Dale as they move forward. And finally we do actually have some really heavy cavalry on this flank. These regions right here are going to be kind of equipped with this elvish forged armor, and they're going to be supported by more Lake Town guards. So a very nice Lake Town army coming to this battlefield today. So for once, there is actually a pretty big gap in this formation. Normally with the guys who send in these battles in particular, they tend to like to cover the map from one side to another, but I kind of like what they've done in this battle is they've kind of given a bit of space on this flank, giving a little bit of ability to outmaneuver. Normally what we end up seeing is something like this, where there's infantry and cavalry all on these positions, so it really ends up being the cavalry has to try and find its way through the actual infantry lines and try and find the way, you know, the gap being created by the battle, and then try and exploit it that way, which is something I always loved in these battles. Was that, you know, it wasn't just down to like the standardized infantry on the front lines, archers, you know, in front of them or behind them, with cavalry on the flanks. The cavalry actually had to look for gaps to do a break up, and you know, the infantry would have to try and create that, which I always thought was really, really awesome. So it looks like the battle is going to kick off with Dale sending forth their archers. Now obviously the Dalian archers are going to easily outrange the Dwarven defensive formation right here, and this will probably end up kick-starting the Dwarves, you know, realizing that they have to actually come forward and you know, challenge the Dale infantry. I mean, honestly, they do easily have the advantage when it does come to melee engagement. It does look like Dale as well are looking to take out these crossbowmen, and that's what's running away right now. You can see the crossbowmen for the Dwarves are falling back. Obviously, they don't have the range to really deal with anything like range-wise that the men of Dale have. Also, just look at this battlefield as well. Like, look at the distance. It's always so awesome seeing stuff like this. We actually just see like battle formations all forming up, you know, from one side of the engagement to another. Really, really is cool. And there we have it. The Dwarven shield walls are moving forward. They are in a, you know, a tightly packed formation to try and absorb as many of these arrows as possible. You can see many of these arrows have hit the shield of the dwarfs. They're going to be pushing forward. I imagine this is to allow their crossbows to then be in range to retaliate, because the crossbows, when in range, will do great armor-piercing damage. They are obviously in loose formation, but they are taking quite a lot of fire. I'm sure, though, they're going to be retaliating with a volley of their own against these Dalian marksmen. You even have the little ranger units right here as well, who are like hidden. And there you go, the first volley coming off there, taking out a few of the marksmen, but nothing too crazy.
Keep your aim low. Hit them in their fat bellies.
In their fat bellies, I mean, that's not wrong, right? That is actually like a default Attila line, however it does kind of fit. Over on the other side, the Eastlings and Gondorians are also exchanging arrow fire as well. You can see the Gondorians here, the Blackroot Vale archers are going to be letting loose their arrows, trying to find the mark in between the superior Eastling archers, because as you can see, the entire Eastling infantry line can basically volley out, which is good and bad. You know, they only have a couple volleys, but if they just volley into these archers, they could take out a lot of casualties right now. We take a look at the overall battlefield. We can see that there is a large kind of build-up of cavalry on this left flank, which, if the dwarfs aren't careful, will allow the Dalian infantry just to smash forward. Is this also Dalian cavalry right here, or the Gondorians brought over? No, the Swan Knights of Dol Amroth have actually come over to this position to supplement the Dalian line, so that they can then push over more of their cavalry over to this right flank. Now, I think that these Lake Town horses won't do great. However, they're just kind of there to keep the Dwarven merchant cavalry in place whilst these guys do the damage. This is the main strength of the Dale formation. And obviously, to mention about the Dwarven cavalry, obviously isn't very good. It is actually just like caravan guards, so merchant mercenaries basically look to come and aid them and give them some form of support. We are going to be getting these Lake Town dudes being pushed forward, and they have a lot of javelins to begin this battle, so we're going to be seeing a few of these kind of frontline dwarfs just going down due to the amount of javelins. They are trying to push up this unit of pikes though, and this pike unit is getting absolutely dismantled by the Dwarven crossbows. I mean, even though that they are pushing forward, this is also kind of meaning that the crossbows are not shooting at the missiles, so I guess that's quite good. We've also got a bunch of axes being thrown at this Lake Town pike unit right now. And I think all of the pikes have now gone out, but we do have some more, you know, of the Vault Wardens looking to come up here and support their brothers. But at the moment, the crossbows are really just focusing down. I mean, it's buying the rest of the infantry time to break up, but You know, it could be a little scary. As we go around the battlefield as well, we do actually see some of these Lake Town Guard overstepping their mark and getting a little bit further away from their main battle line. And we're actually going to see the Eastlings come in right now to support their Dwarven brothers and engage these guys and try and keep them in place for as long as possible until more of the Dwarves can turn up. We do have the Dwarves cavalry though making their way across, trying to find maybe a gap in here. However, I think they are just going to turn around. No, they're going to go for a charge here, trying to find a gap in the Dwarven line. And these Dwarfs aren't in a decent formation. The Eastlings are going to counter-charge right now, looking to then go ahead and get some repentance for that. Because, I mean, when Dwarfs did lose a ton of men, not being in shield wall was really, really painful for them. Losing almost half the unit to that heavy cavalry charge. The cavalry is kind of stuck in now in this position, and they're going to have to kind of fight. We do actually have another unit of cavalry coming in now as well, and this kind of ill-equipped Dwarven shield wall just did not stand a chance right there. Going around the rest of the battle line, we do have the Dwarves fighting the Lake Town Guard. And I mean, the Dwarves, this is kind of the most thing the Dwarves do want. They want these heavy melee engagements. They don't want to stick at range. They don't want to have to rely on cavalry. They want to just fight to their heart's content. And I mean, they have kind of the infantry line to do so right now, you know, with this curved line. However, they have got their weaker units on the front line that have been receiving a large amount of missile fire. So maybe they're going to have to already start committing some of these Axe Guard of Erebor to the battle. Taking a look over on the other flank as well, the Gondorians have descended upon the Easterlings. Both sides trying to use their militia to begin this battle. And then as things develop, put in more and more of their elite infantry. You can see right there as well, the Eastlings pushing forward in shield wall as best as they can. I think the Gondorians though are heavily relying on that flank over there, which they are starting to commit more infantry to right now. If they can win here, then that will give them a huge bonus. However, there are pikemen here, and these pikemen are going to be, you know, a nice sturdy foe to take out. The Gondorians are looking to commit right away. I think they're waiting until their pikemen get up here so they can try and break these guys, forming actually shield wall a mere inches away from this formation. I mean, just look at that battle, man. Oh, it's just beautiful. I am one for grand scale battles, and just seeing the engagements going off there is amazing. So yeah, the Fountain Guard are running up, but they are taking a large amount of this missile focus, along with a heavy push of the cavalry. The Eastlings kind of tried to break ahead and chase down the routing Gondorians that broke, and this is kind of like a 1066 right here. The battle line isn't standing steady, it's actually charging forward, and that's creating gaps, exactly what the Gondorians want, so they can pounce their heavy cavalry down, whilst I think a large amount of the Eastling cavalry is over here dealing with the Dwarves cavalry that is somehow still alive. I mean, granted, they are just fighting the Dwarfs, but even still, that is a very, very brutal engagement right there. I'm just amazed. I mean, these are Swan Knights after all, you know, the heaviest cavalry that, you know, Middle-earth kind of has to offer. Very, very skilled warriors, and the Dwarfs obviously aren't that equipped to deal with them. We also have a few engagements over here now as well, as the Lake Town Guard engage the Merchant Guard of the Dwarfs. And I think this is just going to allow the Men of Dale to really break through here. You can see them pushing on. The Dwarfs have now committed their most elite infantry to this fight, and we're going to get some cavalry charges in somewhat stationary Merchant Guard. Oh, wow, what a fast hit right there. But now we also have these elite horses who can break their way around the side and actually engage. We also have some light Dwarven Vault Wardens making their way in here to maybe support this as well. A nice move here by the Dwarfs if they can commit. I think they're just looking to kind of try and scare off this cavalry unit as best as they can, as they bring back these Dwarven crossbows as well. Yeah, we do have one charge going into the back of this unit of cavalry right now against the Caravan Guard, and I imagine this one, no, they're looking to win the cavalry engagement as quickly as possible. I was wondering if they were going to go after the siege engineers, but I think it's kind of come down to the fact that they want to try and, you know, just kill the Dwarven cavalry as quickly as possible. Around the rest of the battle line as well, I wonder how the Dwarfs are faring. They have got a lot of their Vault Wardens now in, along with their Axe Guard of Erebor, so a lot of very, very strong infantry pushed in. It looks like the shield walls of the runic infantry, the Easterlings, have managed to repel the initial attack of Gondor. Gondor do still have 5 units of their elite Gondorian sword infantry, but I think they're also waiting for this engagement to be quelled. as the Fountain Guard are obviously proving their worth and just taking out the rest of the pikemen of the Easterlings. And once this quadrant has kind of been cleaned up by the Gondorians, I think they'll then commit their last line of reserves into the battle.
The men have thrown down their weapons and are fleeing.
At the moment, the balance of power is in favour of the Gondorians, but that could change at any moment with some of these cavalry engagements, especially now the Eastlings have committed more of their cavalry and infantry to this fight with the help of the Dwarves. I think the cavalry for the Gondorians are starting to run out, even though they still have plenty left. It's starting to drop numbers, and the more that they lose, the more of the Gondorians that run out of them horses, the better it's going to be for the Dwarves. However, I think the Dwarven cavalry has now just lost in the distance, and that's going to be catastrophic as they get a wonderful cavalry charge off onto the crossbowmen. And that's going to be all she wrote for the crossbows. They don't really have any way of dealing with this. I believe there is a unit of Vault Wardens somewhere, but they're just obviously so slow, especially being dwarfs. They're going to get to here much, much later than the rest of the engagement. They're also receiving fire from missiles as well. And now all the range units are routing. I think the Men of Dale are trying to get their cavalry out of this battle before the pikes do turn up. The pikes are going to charge in, put down their pikes, and if they can catch some of these horses off guard, that's going to be pretty good. They're going to kill these guys. They just need to keep on advancing and not giving up any quarter. You see quite a few of these horses do going down, but now the Dalian cavalry can just hammer an anvil into the back of this formation. Over on the other part of the battlefield, we do have the final kind of stands right now. Oh wow, actually, I was going to say the final stands of this Easterling flank, but it looks like the Gondorians have basically been beaten back. With the support of heavy cavalry charges, so kind of almost giving up the centre, they've decided to put their cavalry over here, and that's going to allow them to rear charge the Fountain Guard, who aren't going to break easily, obviously, being Fountain Guard. But that's obviously going to still cause them morale issues, and you can see a large portion of the weaker Gondorian troops actually falling back. We have a few more men being committed to this fight, but the Gondorian battle line is so ill-committed, and we're actually going to have a big push here. Gondor, seeing that their flank has now been lost, are looking to re-maneuver their formation to meet up with their Dalian allies, and I honestly think this is probably one of the better decisions to make right now. Giving up this formation, allowing the rest of the Gondorians to fall back with the cavalry superiority is probably the best thing they could have done, because now they can reform up after basically beating the Dwarfs and then getting ready to take on the stronger foe. I mean, the balance of power is still in their favour, so the fact that they're falling back is really interesting. And again, that's why I love these battle replays, because it's not all about just like a head-to-head smash between these two factions. There's actually a lot of strategy involved. And they don't just fight to the death, if they see that one side is losing, they're going to retreat and try and form up, much like we saw right here. And obviously, even though they still have the advantage, they don't want to give up anything to the Easterlings, who are looking like they are starting to have some pretty good luck over here. I mean, there are still some, there's still a scatter of Gondorians still over here. But again, it's only the weaker spearmen, so it's not like they're losing anything too crazy over on these flanks by abandoning them. And that's, again, a really cool thing about these replays, is these players aren't just bringing the most elite units, they're bringing kind of a whole mix of infantry, trained men, and then militia. So you have kind of these exchanges on the battlefield. I keep talking as if the Dwarves are done in this battle, and they are definitely not. They still have some of their most elite units left remaining, which are fighting bravely. Right here we have the Axe Guard of Erebor. This is probably the hardest hitting infantry unit for the Dwarves. And obviously they also are going up against some missile units who have run out of ammunition now and have been thrown into the melee engagement. So I think the Dwarves are going to be having a pretty good time against them. But over time, obviously, they're going to be losing numbers, and they don't really have the numbers to lose.
Run from the enemy. This is shameful.
Shameful indeed. I'm sure they will hold the line some more. So we've got more cavalry charging in against here, more Dalian infantry fighting away against this pocket of Dwarven resistance who broke formation and charged forward. The Gondorians, the Dalians, and also the men from Vineland are looking to take these guys out swiftly. I always loved these shields on the Vineland pikemen as well. But this looks like a really cool, it's kind of like a shoulder pad, but like, it just looks really cool. So if we take a look at the glimpse of battle, we can see that the Eastlings have completely demolished the Gondorian right flank right now, and they're bringing everything they have over. The men of Dale are trying to kind of finish up what remains of the Dwarves. However, it looks like the Dwarves have basically won the cavalry engagement now. I think a lot of the Dalian cavalry have kind of moved elsewhere, expecting them to win this, and there are actually a few kind of units of caravan guard left remaining for the Dwarves. Somehow, their cavalry was still like alive and kicking. And I think a lot of the Dalian cavalry have now just been caught up against spearmen. They can't really retreat without taking heavy casualties. So the Dwarves have done a great job at kind of nullifying this cavalry advantage that the other side had. I mean, there are still plenty of horses just waiting to be commanded. More infantry pushing on. And I mean, the Dwarven battle line over on this side is gone. But it's going to give the Dwarves, plenty of time to maybe try and make their way around the side. The Eastlings are simply waiting for the rest of their battle line to form up before they really commit. And I mean, there is still a lot of cavalry. You've got Swan Knights over here, Gondorian spear cavalry. You've still got a lot of horsemen. Which are going to be making their way around the flanks, trying to rear charge. I don't think the Eastlings have much horse left. No, they only have like this one small group of horse left remaining of 2 brave horses. And obviously the ones they've got engaged. Oh no, they haven't got one. This is an arch unit right here engaged against the Gondorian swords. Which obviously is not going to go well for the Eastlings. I think they're just more here to keep the Gondorian infantry tired. We also have a little push out here by the Lake Town militia, the Gondorian swords as well, engaging. I guess it's just kind of to try and take away as much force as possible. So we're going to be getting more of the, now that the rest of the Eastling infantry has now timed up, they're going to be making their push right now against the Gondorian sword wall. Dale over on this right flank, Gondor in the centre. And obviously that cavalry coming over here. So the cavalry is actually engaged. What's the cavalry engaged right now? So they're actually engaged one of the fresh units of the Eastling cavalry. I don't think the Eastling cavalry is going to win this, though. They're outnumbered. Even though they are full strength, I think these superior numbers will just win them the day.
Enemy units have been rallied.
Though we are getting, heavy infantry charges going off against the Gondorians. Oh, decapitation right there. And one of the generals going down. Who is that? The Dwarven general being slain on the battlefield. Oh, that was actually the Eastling general being slain. That's going to be pretty bad. You can see a lot of these backward units are actually already really close to routing. A rear charge here and there is going to be brutal. I imagine the Dwarven general isn't too far behind either. I mean, he's still got a lot of fight left in him, but once these spears turn up, I don't think he's going to be able to win that engagement, especially with this fight over here. However, the Dalian infantry just caused a big rout right now. With the support of their cavalry, the marksmen are going to rout soon, and then these spears are going to clean them up as well. So, even though this flank is looking scary, I think the Dwarves might actually come out on top and clutch this with their cavalry. We also have the Eastlings actually falling back a large portion of their infantry to help win that cavalry engagement, which is not a bad plan whatsoever. That's actually really, really smart to kind of almost give up this formation so that they can win that cavalry engagement and kill a lot of the Gondorian cavalry. We are going to see the Swan Knights, though, being committed elsewhere, some to the centre flanks right now to take on some of the merchant escorts. And then we also have another rear charge about to come in right now, looking to rout these pikemen. We'll get on board with them as well as they come flying in into the back of the Dwarves. Now, luckily, the Dwarves still have their general alive, so the morale debuff isn't going to be affecting them too badly. But, there's obviously a unit of Vault Wardens, pike infantry being charged in the rear, basically completely surrounded. And I'm sure that's going to be the end of them very, very soon. I'm really impressed with how the Easterlings managed to deal with this little engagement over here. They've also managed to rout a large portion of the cavalry, which has been rear charging their battle lines. I mean, the morale isn't great, and the infantry is starting to break against the superior trained Gondorians. But if they can use their cavalry effectively, then who knows? I mean, balance of power is still very much in favour of Dale and the Gondorians, but I mean, number-wise, it's still very, very even. We actually got more infantry being committed over here, I think. I think more men have been pushed over here to try and support that. We've also been getting some rear charges by the Gondorian general as well, along with a lot of archer fire going off on the rest of the cavalry. I mean, there is still a lot of cavalry left remaining, at least unit-wise. You can see it's just causing an absolute muck right now. Both of these, both the Dalian general and also the Gondorian general, just look out for blood right now. And we're actually going to see a big break right here by the Eastlings, and then it's going to allow the rest of the men of Dale to push on these Vault Wardens and try and take them out. Another rear charge right here, and that's exactly what they need to try and do. Now that the Eastling general has been killed, it's all about just routing their army, clearing them off the battlefield. I mean, that's exactly what the Swan Knights of this general unit is going to be doing. Another great rear charge right there, smacking through this unit of spearmen. Yeah, you can just see their numbers dropping really, really quickly. It's going to shaken them. And if their morale doesn't get sorted out pretty quickly, they are just going to simply rout from this battlefield. I'm surprised that this engagement is going on for as long as possible. Yeah, there we have it. The Swan Knights just doing so much work. I mean, how many kills are they on? Only 161, but I guess that's quite a lot when you count. There's only 11,000 men in this battle, so that's not too bad just on one cavalry unit. Yeah, the cavalry is really causing them a nuisance right now. It really, really is. Just dominating how this battle is being played. Also, having these pikemen as well. I mean, the pikes on the Vineland, I can't remember what they're called, the Vineland Spears or whatever. What are they called? Vineland Watchmen. It's not amazing, but they, it's still a decent reach that they have over their opponents. And the cavalry, I think, is just going to be hammer and anviling to their heart's content, looking to break as much of this as possible. The Dwarves, though, have managed to win. They managed to break the rest of the Dalian line. I mean, granted, a lot of the Dale infantry did push down and ran away, but still, the Dwarves still held their ground. I mean, the man's power, though, is looking awful. The cavalry charges, dramatically affecting the morale with the lack of that general. You're just seeing the Swan Knights coming in, hammer and anvil, and so much routing just occurring. So I think the rest of this battle is just going to be the Dwarves forming up one last stand, and then these guys looking to finish them. Wait, there's actually a lot of these Dwarves are actually routing as well. Yeah, there you go. The entire Eastling army has now gone down. The Dwarves are even routing as they try and flee. They only have basically 2 units left remaining as they form their kind of... that's really cool, though. They form kind of this back-to-back formation with pikemen. I mean, they're forming the square as well. No, they're not. They're just going to form up like this. I mean, I think they're going to almost rout immediately. As soon as contact does occur, they're probably just going to be, routed and taken care of.
We are losing ground.
Here we go. The infantry is coming in for one big hit. The last stand of the Dwarves. Only 100 of them left. I mean, granted, there's only 500 of the enemy team left remaining, but... yeah, unfortunately, it's not going to be the case. Just infantry going to be going around from every single side. The pikemen are holding their line. But obviously, there's just pure numbers. Oh, a beautiful cavalry charge right there, smacking into the rear of the Dwarves. That's going to be it, surely. You can see the numbers dropping so dramatically. A rally has been cast, but also been countered by Warcry. And there we have it. The Dwarves' greed got the better of them, and they were dispatched at this battlefield. A valiant defeat of the Dwarfs. I mean, their greed was just too much. They delved too deep and too greedily, as Gandalf would say. Oh no, Sauron would say? Yeah, Saruman said that, right? Yeah, Saruman said that. Or maybe Gandalf said it. I actually can't remember. Wow, I'm embarrassed for myself. But anyway, if we take a look at the kills, we can see we'll start off with the Eastling force. A lot of their infantry getting over 100 kills, and that's just really down to the extra, bow they have. Being able to get, I think it's 3 volleys of arrows off to begin the battle, just softens up really whatever they come up against. As well as that, their cavalry doing really a great job. On the Dwarven battle line, yeah, this hammer guard right here, 227 kills. You know, what else do we need to say? Very, very nice. Over on Medallion side, everyone actually doing kind of pretty standard. No one really stepping up besides the cavalry and this infantry units. But still just a nice, kind of distribution of kills across your army. And then finally for the Gondorians, 200 kills on the cavalry, 246 on this one unit of Gondorian sword infantry, and the rest of the cavalry doing very good. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed this, be sure to drop a like and a comment down below. Let me know what you want to see in the next one, what kind of factions. I believe there is a lot of rumors about a new update coming very, very soon. So if you're excited to see that, then go ahead and let me know in the comments as well, and I'll see you guys in the next one.